One of the ways that we can think about the Gospels is that it is a series of books that try to answer the question, who is Jesus? Now, it can be hard for us to appreciate because we come along so much later. We have all of the theology, the development of our understanding of that question. But as Jesus was going about the land of Israel, as he was encountering people, it was the question on everybody's minds, who is this man? There were those who came to believe in him right away, people who experienced the power of his healing. They heard the compassion and love of his voice. There were those who resisted him because of prior judgments, thinking about his own hometown and the people who thought they knew the answer to who he was, and so they were resistant to any other idea that he could be more than they thought. In the end, as the crowds began to grow and understand, they began to believe, to know that he was this Messiah that they had anticipated. But even that answer, that belief was not enough, because Jesus would go on to claim more. Not only an anointed one, not only the Messiah that had been prophesied, but then he began to make himself equal to God. And it was because of this claim, this recognition that he was saying that he was one with God, that's what ended up putting him on the cross. People who accused him of this blasphemy. How dare he claim to be such a thing? Another way that they came to understand is that he was king. A terminology, an idea that may have meant more to people like Pilate that we hear about in today's gospel, questioning him, trying to understand who he is. Are you a king? He asks him. And then Jesus responds and he says, so you are a king. But then we get Jesus' explanation that identifies that yes, he is a king, but he is different than they imagined. A king not of this world. And then Jesus identifies what it means to us, what it means to those who would follow him as king. He says that those who hear the truth hear my voice. They listen to me. So the mark of claiming that Jesus is king is to listen to his voice. So today we celebrate the fact that Jesus is king of all the universe, that he is in heaven, has returned to his rightful place with the Father, that he is preparing an eternal life for us, that he has sent his Spirit so that the Spirit might guide us on our journey to be with him in heaven. And so we celebrate this idea, the concept of Jesus as king of all of creation. But then we listen closely to how Jesus describes it himself, saying that those who follow me are the ones who listen to my voice. So the challenge for us, the deeper call as we go about our pilgrim journey is not just to proclaim, yes, he's up there in heaven. Yes, in the end, he is king of all creation. But to ask, is he king of my life here, now, today? How do I live my faith now because of this claim that Jesus is king? Now, I want to suggest to you that there are a couple of questions that we can ask. Questions that when we listen to the answer, they put us in the position of doing what Jesus says, listening to his voice. Now, to think about these questions, we have to recognize that Jesus, as king, is not far removed from us. We do not have a king who is distant, who is simply waiting on his throne for us to catch up, but rather a king who comes and walks with us, a God who decided to be born among us. And so this Jesus that we follow, this king that we proclaim, is someone who is with us in the highs and lows of our life. Someone there when we gather to celebrate. Someone there when we find ourselves struggling under the burdens of life. Someone there when we are facing decisions and we're not sure which direction to take. In the joys and the sorrows, in every aspect of our life, Jesus is there. And in each of those moments, the good ones and the bad ones, in each of those moments, Jesus is working to shape our lives. And when we listen to his voice, then we respond better in all of the situations that arise, all of the things that make up normal life for us. And so here are the two questions that I would suggest that you consider. Questions that you try and develop into a habit so that in every situation you are listening for his voice. And so the first question is this: Jesus, what do you want from me? Meaning, what am I supposed to do? Here I am in this situation. Here I am trying to make a decision. Here I am trying to navigate the joys and struggles of life. In all of it, Jesus, what do you want from me? How am I supposed to respond? What am I supposed to do to live up to the responsibility of my life, to cooperate with you leading and guiding me? What do you want from me? This is a crucial question so that we can listen to his voice. Because God, he draws us into his life. You have in your church that sign as you leave that you are entering the mission field. And so as you go about your day-to-day lives, Jesus wants to guide you so that what you do, how you live, the words you speak, all of it points to Jesus. All of it reflects that God is at work in and through you. And so from you, Jesus wants to have an instrument, a witness, a reminder to the world around you that he is near, that he is present. And so what he asks of you is that you live in cooperation with him to carry out that mission. But that's only the first question. Because Jesus is not only interested in you for what you can do. Jesus is also interested in you, for your own sake. And so in addition to the question, Jesus, what do you want from me? The second question is, Jesus, what do you want for me? Again, we apply this question to all the situations that come, the good and the bad, the difficult and the easy. Because whatever is happening in our life, Jesus wants to reach into our very souls. He wants to mold and shape us so that we can answer the question, who are you, Jesus? So that we can come to profess the faith that we see in the Gospels, the faith that led people to healing and joy, so that we can discover strength when it comes time for us to carry our own crosses. Because every situation offers an opportunity for us to be drawn more deeply into the life of God, to be molded and shaped as individual human beings according to the image and likeness of God in which we were made. Every situation has this opportunity. But if we fail to consider what is Jesus saying, if we fail to answer the questions, well, then we might miss the opportunities. Then we run the risk of just kind of casually gliding through our lives. Or we run the risk of continually being anxious and worried, uncertain about what to do. And so today, as we celebrate this great feast, as we honor Christ as King, we certainly do honor his place in heaven and his judgment at the end of time. But we also honor his presence with us now. And we seek to pay closer attention so that we can answer the question, who are you, Jesus, for me in my life, in the days that I live? And so if you can cultivate the ability to listen to his voice, if you can ask the questions, Jesus, what do you want from me? What do you want for me? Then you can live the life of faith that has a greater certainty of God at work in you, a greater certainty of joys that are shared by a loving God, of strength that comes from Jesus on his cross. And so our prayer as we celebrate this feast of Christ the King is that we will identify who he really is, because we are those who listen to his voice.